You wake up one morning and there's a leak in your roof. That's $500. Then you check the mail and your property tax bill has gone up again. That's another 3 grand you didn't account for. You drive to work, someone rear-ends you, and suddenly you're worried about your insurance premium spiking, or worse, getting sued for everything you have. You sit there and think, I worked so hard to buy this house, buy this car, build this life. Why does it feel like I'm losing money just by existing? We are taught from kindergarten that the goal of the game is ownership. Buy the house, own the car, put your name on the deed. We attach our egos to what we own. But then you look at the ultra-wealthy, I'm talking the billionaires, the tycoons, the people who actually run the world, and you realize something terrifying. They don't own anything. On paper, they are destitute. They have no income. They have no assets in their personal name. If you looked at their personal tax return without knowing who they were, you might think they were broke. Yet they live in mansions, fly private, and influence global markets. Here's the thing. You are playing a game of accumulation, while they are playing a game of control. And until you understand the difference, you will always be one lawsuit or one bad tax bill away from losing it all. My name is Nash, and I spend way too much time thinking about how money actually works versus how we're told it works. If you're someone who feels like you're working harder every year, but your net worth is barely moving because taxes and unexpected costs keep eating you alive, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Now look, I get it. The idea of owning nothing sounds counterintuitive. It sounds like something a minimalist living in a van would say, not a finance strategy. But this isn't about minimalism. This is about maximum protection and maximum efficiency. There's a famous quote attributed to John D. Rockefeller that sums this up perfectly. Own nothing, but control everything. Here's what most people don't realize about ownership. Ownership is a liability. When you personally own a rental property, you are personally liable if a tenant slips on the stairs. When you personally own a massive stock portfolio and you sell it, you personally owe the capital gains tax. When you die, if all those assets are in your name, the government is going to take a massive chunk of it before your kids see a dime. Ownership is heavy. It's a backpack filled with rocks that you carry up the mountain of financial freedom. The ultra-rich decided a long time ago to put the backpack down. Let's break down how this actually works with some real numbers, because this is where it gets interesting. Imagine you have 2 people. We'll call them Average Adam and Billionaire Bob. Both of them want to buy a $10 million commercial building. Average Adam saves up, maybe gets a mortgage, and buys the building in his own name. He's proud, he's the owner. But now Adam is a target. If someone gets injured on the property and sues for $20 million, they can come after Adam's personal house, his car, and his personal savings because everything is linked to him. He owns the building, so he owns the risk. Now look at Billionaire Bob. Bob doesn't buy the building. An LLC buys the building. But Bob doesn't even own the LLC directly. The LLC is owned by a trust, and Bob isn't even the trustee. He's just the beneficiary. If someone sues the building, they are suing the LLC. They can't touch Bob's personal house. They can't touch his other investments. Bob controls the building. He decides rent. He decides when to sell. He spends the profit. But legally, he owns nothing. He has severed the link between the asset and his personal liability. But protection is only half the story. The real magic, and the part that makes me slightly frustrated that they don't teach this in school, is how this applies to taxes and cash flow. You might be thinking, okay, Nash, that's great for lawsuits, but how do they spend money if they don't have income? This is the strategy known as buy, borrow, die. And once you see the math, you will never look at debt the same way again. Let's say you have $10 million in Apple stock. You want $1 million cash to buy a luxury cabin or a piece of art or just to live on for the year. If you are Average Adam, you sell $1 million worth of stock. But here's the problem. You have to pay capital gains tax. Depending on where you live, let's say that's 20% federal plus state tax, you might have to sell $1.3 million or $1.4 million of stock just to pocket that $1 million. You just set $400,000 on fire, gone, forever. And now you have less stock compounding for you in the future.
Now look at how the poor billionaire does it. They go to a bank and say, I have $10 million in stock. I'm not going to sell it. I want to borrow against it. This is called a securities-backed line of credit. The bank says, sure, your interest rate is 4%. So the billionaire borrows $1 million tax-free. Why is it tax-free? Because debt is not income. You don't pay tax on a loan. Now let's look at the cost. The cost to average Adam was $400,000 in taxes. The cost to the billionaire is 4% interest on $1 million, which is $40,000 a year. Would you rather pay $400,000 once or $40,000 a year? Here's the kicker. While the billionaire is paying that tiny interest rate, the $1 million of Apple stock they didn't sell is still growing. If the stock market goes up by 8% or 10%, they are making more money on the asset than they are paying in interest on the loan. They are literally getting paid to spend money. And here's the die part of buy, borrow, die. When they pass away, thanks to something called the step-up in basis, the tax cost basis of those assets often resets to the current market value. The heirs sell a little bit of stock tax-free to pay off the loan and keep the rest. The capital gains tax that average Adam paid, it simply vanishes for the billionaire. It feels unfair, right? It feels like a cheat code. And frankly, it is. But getting angry about it won't fix your bank account. Understanding it will. Now, you might be thinking, Nash, I don't have $10 million in Apple stock. I have a 9-to-5 and a Honda Civic. This doesn't apply to me. And here is where most people get it wrong. You don't need to be a billionaire to start thinking like one. The principles of separating ownership from control apply whether you have $1,000 or $1 billion. The biggest mistake I see regular people make is commingling everything. They run their freelance business out of their personal checking account. They buy rental properties in their own name. They hold every risk personally. So how do you actually apply this? What are the action steps for the non-billionaire? First, stop fearing complexity. The rich love complexity because complexity is where the loopholes live. The poor love simplicity, and simplicity is expensive. If you have a side hustle, don't just be a sole proprietor. Look into forming an LLC. It's not that expensive. It separates your business assets from your personal assets. If your business fails or gets sued, you don't lose your house. That is step one of owning nothing. The entity owns the business, you just control the entity. Second, rethink your relationship with debt. We are told all debt is bad. Consumer debt, credit card debt at 25% APR is bad. It's toxic. But strategic debt, low-interest debt used to acquire assets or liquidity without triggering a tax event is the most powerful tool in finance. If you own a home with significant equity, a home equity line of credit, HELOC, acts similarly to that billionaire's stock loan. I'm not telling you to go buy a boat with it, but using a HELOC to buy a rental property where the rental income pays off the loan interest allows you to expand your asset base without selling your home and triggering taxes. You are using the bank's money to build your wealth while keeping your original asset. And here's the psychological shift. Stop trying to look rich. The people who look the richest, the flashy cars, the logos, the watches, are usually the ones who own the least. They are drowning in personal liabilities. The poor billionaire wears a t-shirt and jeans because he doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. His assets are locked away in trusts, his income is shielded by depreciation, and his lifestyle is funded by debt that costs less than inflation. It comes down to this. The system is designed to tax income and consumption. It is designed to reward investment and production. If you insist on earning a high salary and buying things in your own name, you are volunteering to be the system's favorite customer. You are paying the retail price for life. But if you shift your mindset, if you start building structures, if you start prioritizing control over vanity, if you start using the tax code as a rulebook rather than a receipt, you change the game. You don't need to be a billionaire to start acting like one. You just need to stop obsessing over owning the world and start focusing on controlling your corner of it. If you found this helpful, do me a favor. Don't just watch this and move on. Look at your own assets this week. Ask yourself, am I exposed? Am I paying taxes I don't need to pay? Thanks for watching, and remember, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. I'll see you in the next one.